and there are actually, apart from myself, 3 other people. Sister Sheila hasn't arrived yet. She should be arriving any minute. So panel this evening will be Sister Sheila, Sister Mira, and Brother Neville. And my name is Gopi from Australia, and I'm going to be asking or directing the questions to them, and particularly from the latest Murli. The topic tonight is realising the self and recognising the time to become an embodiment of experience. And it was quite interesting actually this morning for those of us that heard Daddy Gulzar's class, because a lot of the things she was talking about were things that we will be looking at tonight. And so some of the statements that Baba made in the Murli will be asking the guests what they think about this in their own life, so to share their own experiences. And every 15 minutes we're going to have a minute's silence so that it becomes quite experiential. So whatever's being discussed on the 15 minutes will go into an experience of silence for about 1 minute. So Baba made the statement, the sparkling star becomes dull when we're not the embodiment of awareness. Instead, we become the embodiment of thought. So just to ask the question, how to tell when we may be becoming the embodiment of thought and bringing our stage back to one of awareness. So I'll just repeat the question. How to tell when we may be becoming the embodiment of thought and bringing our stage back to one of awareness. So Miraben, maybe you'd like to start on this question.
We become the embodiment of thought when we become the image of renunciation instead of image of fortune. We know that there is no fortune without renunciation, but when we engage our mind in what we have renounced, instead of engaging the mind in thinking what we have attained, so that sparkle gets dull. And that is why sometimes we hear people commenting, "Oh, I feel sorry for you. I feel so pity that you are missing so much from this world after becoming BK." Why should someone feel sorry when we are so fortunate? But that fortune star has become dull. It's behind the clouds because we are only engaging our mind in what we have left behind, not engaging the mind in remembering what we have attained. So that is one of my experience. The more I become an embodiment of attainment, the more I become embodiment of awareness. If I forget to remember what I have attained, that sparkle disappears.
And Brother Neville, did you have a comment on that? Do you want me to repeat the question, or you?
I think I've got it, and I loved Miraben's diagnostic aid for this question. It hadn't occurred to me, but it's definitely my experience. I can see that there are times when it feels as if this path is getting hard, and you start to turn over in your head the things that, you know, they're like complaints in your head. And that, of course, is not going to, that's like a bog, a quicksand, that once you start on that, you find yourself being pulled down and down. But the way I was answering it in my head from what first came to mind was that I still haven't fully learned to discriminate the difference between these ways of thinking, because they can still creep up on me sometimes. Here's Sheila Ben. Sometimes I find that I think I'm thinking along the right lines, but in fact, I've got into an old habit of thinking about problems, trying to work out solutions with my head. And that's actually very similar. It may not seem as if you're thinking about what you've lost, what you've renounced. Sometimes it's that. It leads into that, in fact. But if you're just thinking too much about the problems that you face in the roles that you're playing, that in itself can start putting a kind of grime on the soul, so that the pleasure of this path, which is the clarity of Baba's love and your own beauty, that starts to disappear. And it does creep up on you. It's really amazing how you don't necessarily recognize it as it's coming until, and this is the other sign, you start hurting. You start feeling pain, and your yoga starts to, your Amrit Vela starts to get sleepy, or it doesn't have that clarity and pleasure. So that's another sign for me when this dullness is at work. And I have learned recently that when this pain starts to come, it prompts me to do a job of a repair job, even though my intellect is saying, but you've got this, that, and the other problem. I understand now much better that I have to take what Baba is telling me and use that to get back to a state of freshness again.
Sheila Ben, would you like to add to this? It's about being the embodiment of thought and how to bring our stage back to one of being of awareness.
I think what Baba meant was that when we are just the embodiment of thoughts, then we get lovely thoughts. It's not that we don't. We can do very good churning, and we use our intellect a great deal. The mind is also working in it. And we feel that our stage is good. But then, if it's not the stage of being the embodiment of awareness, instead it's just the embodiment of thoughts, the result will be that it can turn into ego. Oh, I'm very intelligent, I can churn very well, my knowledge is very good, and I can share this with all. So it can turn into ego of the talent of churning. But then when Baba says embodiment of awareness, it means that you become the embodiment, and really it is not just in the consciousness, but it is in one's life. Usually what happens is that if it's just in the thoughts, it's not necessary it will come also in our actions. It may come, but then it takes more time. But then awareness means it is part of our life, part of our actions. And this is what Baba wants us to experience. So it may result in ego instead of really being soul conscious and experiencing that self-respect. And the other thing is that we forget that we have to also make the efforts. We think this is enough, and our efforts are very good. But then the efforts which Baba wants us to make are so deep. And that deep effort is becoming the embodiment of awareness. I remember, when I first started giving commentaries, so I used to conduct Raj Yoga meditation camps in Madhuban. And I used to give commentaries. I am a soul, I'm a peaceful soul, I'm a loving soul. So Baba,
I used to love those tapes you did, Sheila Ben.
yes.
They helped me very much when I first came into Gyan.
Yes. So what happened was that, Baba also came to know, of course, Baba knows everything. But then Baba knew that I was giving commentaries, and before that, no one really gave commentaries to that extent. Maybe just 1-2 lines, but then I was giving continuously. And then Baba told me, see, this will be more effective if you become the embodiment of that awareness. Now maybe it's in your thoughts, and that's coming into your words. I'm a peaceful soul. But then become a peaceful soul and then say it. Then this will have a greater impact. And really I practiced it. At first I used to think, oh, what have I to say next? What have I to say next? It was just in the thoughts. But then after that, when I started really practicing it and becoming the embodiment of it, it started coming from the heart, not just from the head. Otherwise, it comes just from the head and not from the heart. And if it's just from the head, as Baba says, it goes to the head only and then goes out. But if it's from the heart, it appeals, it affects, and it really changes that person, changes the self, and gives an experience. So this is what I felt when Baba blessed me, that when you say, I'm a peaceful soul, become the embodiment of that experience, go into its depth, and then say it from the heart, and this will have more impact. And I felt that it really was very effective. There's a big difference between embodiment of thoughts and embodiment of experience. And then later on, the cassette was made, the first cassette of commentary, it was made later on. So I feel this is what Baba really means. Thank you.
So just so Sister Sheila knows, we're going to have a minute's silence every 15 minutes. So we'll do that right now and go into the experience, as she was mentioning, of being a peaceful soul, the embodiment of awareness. Shanti. Baba's spoken in the most recent Murli about being able to invoke a particular power at a particular time and becoming the embodiment of that, the one who's free from obstacles. So what's your experience in doing this, Neville?
I was thinking about the word embodiment and what it really implies. Sometimes Baba also, I think, uses the word stage as the equivalent of embodiment. And I was thinking how it's like the platform, like a stage in the material world that we establish for ourselves, which of course is our body, because that's the stage that we have to use moment by moment. And when we allow that stage to become rocky, when there are too many things going on, then we can't respond with we can't make the appropriate response to the challenges that come. But if we have that stage really very stable internally, which means peace and positivity inside, then it's as if the powers are there to do the necessary at any particular moment, to know the right response. Because the powers, I was thinking, they're all a kind of balance, aren't they? There are times when it's right to face, times when it's right to withdraw, and so forth. They work against each other in a way, except that they'll so you need to have the discrimination power to know which power to use at the right moment. And that is there, without thinking about it, when you've kept your stage really beautiful, which means that you, for me, the only way that I can do that is in the really drawing on Baba's power. I can't do it any other way. I find that if I fall back on my own sanskars for dealing with the things that come up, then I will get disturbed. My own sanskars are still not sufficiently divinized. But if I'm really careful to be holding Baba as a kind of ball of light in my mind, like a sun, nourishing me, making me feel as if I'm really warm and okay inside, that to me is what gives me a good stage. And then the discrimination about how to respond is there.
Mirabin?
What I feel is that when I have attention on myself, I am aware what I need. Then I am able to emerge from within and use it. So not always we are aware to look at ourselves, because as we move on this path of knowledge, sometimes we get sidetracked. And so when that attention slips, so we lose that, we lose that focus to understand what I need now. So even though I have, but I would not have the power to discern which one and how much and where to use. And so one of the important things that we need to keep in our mind in order to use the right power at the right time is to look at myself. That is why we took up the first aspect, realizing the self. Real I, seeing the real I. Realize, if you split the word realize, real I. So the more I see the real I, the more I am able to draw power from Baba. At the same time, in that real I consciousness, I am able to act accurately, because there is harmony between the mind, intellect, and the sanskaras. And so I'm able to easily emerge, because I'm the master. And so when I'm a self-sovereign, when I'm the self-master, the powers will emerge automatically. And so my experience is that even slightest lack of attention on myself does not allow me to use the right power, even though I have it. So afterwards we begin to think, oh, I could have used that power. I had it, but I was not able to do it. So this is where Baba says realization of the self. It's not that I have to realize I am a soul. We know intellectually, but to hold that awareness consistently will automatically make me the self-master, and that self-mastery allows the power to obey my orders.
Sister Sheila, invoking the powers, any particular power that you'd like to talk about? How you invoke it?
When we are in a gathering, we know that each one has his or her own sanskar. And sometimes it's difficult to face, to tolerate, to cooperate, because you don't like something which the other one likes, and what you like, that one doesn't like, and so on. But then we have to adjust, because we are in a gathering, and also living in Madhuban, it is even more in centers. Maybe it's not that much or not that many, but then in Madhuban is such a large gathering. Of course, Baba is there, Dadis are there. We're under the canopy of protection of the seniors. So all that is very much there. But then we do need to have these powers in us more because it's a large gathering. And therefore, I always, check myself, as Sister Meera was saying, realize the self first. Supposing someone tells me something which I don't like, or maybe it could be words which are not right, and I can feel insulted, as Baba sometimes says that if there's ego, then there is the feeling of insult. Abhiman and Apman go together. But if I have self-respect, then I will not feel hurt. So at such times we have to invoke the power of tolerance. Tolerance is definitely a very great power. In the world, people don't consider it to be a power. They consider it to be cowardice. If somebody tells me something, well, I'll, say back tit for tat. But then Baba says, no, you should not answer back. And in order to experience that power of tolerance, we have to give the self strong doses, different thoughts to control the mind from negative thoughts. For example, someone tells me something and I don't like it. Then I can tell myself, never mind, the one who sows reaps. So that one has done something which is not right, doesn't matter. I should also not do the same action because I will have to reap for that. But supposing he continues, then I can have an even little stronger dose. I can tell myself, well, doesn't matter, some karmic account settled. In this way I can comfort myself and not allow my mind to have waste thoughts or negative thoughts. But supposing he goes on, then I can give myself a stronger dose than that. And I can say, never mind, each soul is playing his own role in the drama, and at this time, this soul's role is such. So in this way, I have seen that when we talk about self-respect, we give the mind that higher thought, It's like a stronger dose. When the problem gets bigger, you need a stronger dose. And then if it still continues, you can still give a stronger dose than that by telling the self, maybe I'm wrong. I need to change. That person is my good friend. He or she wants me to change. So then I start telling myself that I have to change. Maybe she's right. Maybe my ego is working here and I'm not thinking that I'm wrong. Maybe I am wrong. And then I realize, yes, I am wrong. That person is right. Otherwise, why should that person say like that to me? But I did not realize that I was wrong. And gradually I changed. But if I think it's really not that I'm at wrong, it's that person's jealousy maybe, or he or she doesn't want me to rise or something, then I can give my good wishes to that soul. So Baba talks about good wishes and pure feelings. So I remember Baba, Baba had to face so much, and how Baba faced it by giving good wishes to all, even those who insulted Baba, who defamed Baba, how Baba used to give good wishes to them. And ultimately those same people came and they asked for forgiveness. They realized that they were wrong. So in this way, the power of tolerance comes, the power to face comes. And then, as Baba says, forgive and forget. It's such a big power to forgive and forget. Sometimes it's easy to forgive. Yes, okay, you won't, sort of take revenge. But then it's not so easy to forget. That person, when he or she comes in front of you, you'll still remember that we had this tussle, we had this exchange of hot words or something. But then to forget all that, and the next moment or next time that person comes, just smile, and everything is forgotten. But what happens, why these obstacles come? Because we say something which we should not have said. And when we say it, naturally it's like throwing a stone in a pond or in a river or whatever. Then it will create ripples, won't it? So I also was responsible for that. But if I'm aware of myself, if I am in my true self-respect, if I have the good wishes, if I'm able to forgive and forget, then it's easy to, get all these powers. This is what I feel.
So we'll have a minute of forgiving and forgetting in silence. Shanti. Baba also underlined the phrase natural nature. So just tell us, what is your understanding of natural nature? Mirabin?
We can look at it from different angles. When Baba talks about natural nature, I feel Baba is talking about our nature, eternal nature of the soul that should become natural. That is what Baba's signal is when he talks about natural nature. But in our language, when we are in our life, when certain habits or certain words or certain sanskaras emerge, we say, oh, it's my nature. Because we think that it's natural for us. So that's why we use the word, oh, it's my nature, so don't worry about it. But in fact, this is where realization is important. That is not my natural nature. So when I have the realization that is alien, what I am calling today natural nature is not natural, it's alien. Only when that realization comes, then I am able to bring the natural nature of the soul, which is peace, which is purity, which is honesty, practically in my life. So, something which is natural is easy. Something which is natural is constant. You don't have to make effort for it. And so that original, eternal nature becomes natural only with the practice of soul consciousness. The more I am aware of myself as a soul, then the qualities, the intrinsic qualities of the soul becomes natural. But because we have practiced body consciousness over 2,500 years, so we have considered the alien as natural. And now we have to look at alien as alien and merge that and bring our eternal natural nature. That means make it easy and constant so that others can understand who I am without even mentioning through words.
Neville, would you like to talk about natural nature, what that means for you?
I liked Miraben's point on this very much, and I've been surprised sometimes at how much progress can be made with a realization when it finally comes. sometimes we can be really handicapping ourselves. As Miraben said, we're thinking, but it's natural to be like this. It's my nature to be like this. And we're not really, as long as we're holding on with our intellects to that idea, and it is in fact something that is alien to us, seems natural because we may have had it for 2,500 years, this particular sanskar, and so we've lost sight of the fact that it's actually not original. It seems natural because maybe everybody else is behaving that way too in Kali Yuga. But if sometimes these things, sometimes a senior or a friend can put their finger on it for you, and I've had the experience that when something like that is identified, and I've suddenly realized that that's not for me anymore, not now in this confluence age, that belongs to the second half of the kalpa, and it's not something that I want as part of my nature now, and it isn't actually part of my original nature. That realization, it can come in a second, and it can give you so much liberation. It's really amazing. The other thing I'd like to mention is that sometimes these thoughts that go against what Baba is telling us are actually in the subconscious. And this can be a problem too, where maybe sometimes a friend can help you to bring it out, or maybe just you have to wait for the drama to do it, sometimes painfully, until you get the painful realization that you are going against, in some way, the uplifting message that Baba's telling us about ourselves every day. But, for example, there might be, when Baba is saying to us, you're God's child, you're an original child, you are one in multi-millions because you've come to Baba relatively early, and you're taking this inheritance of knowledge and the inheritance from the Golden Age, and you can be hearing it, and your intellect may be saying, yes, thank you, Baba, but there may be a voice in your unconscious that says, I'm not that, I'm useless, I'm actually no good, I'm a fraud. Something like this can be working away underneath. And this is also, I remember a brother in Austria who works as a mental health nurse telling us that he has known BKs who have labored like this for 15, 20, 25 years sometimes, and then the circumstance has been there where they've been able to get down into that subconscious and remove this negative voice that's handicapping them, and in 15 minutes they can suddenly make more progress than they have done for years sometimes when an unconscious block is there. Daddy Janki has told us from time to time that when we see something repeatedly sabotaging our self-respect, we should go into Baba's room and, if necessary, stay there for hours. She says, just stay with it and go right down until you have identified where it's coming from and try and remove it. And it's an investment that can pay tremendous dividends.
Julie Ben, thank you, Neville.
Natural nature has a lot to do with being the embodiment of awareness, because when I'm the embodiment of awareness of my true nature, I can experience that as my natural nature. And then also Baba says that keep in your awareness your original form and your beginning form, and not remember your middle form and your last form at the end of Kali Yuga. So all the time the awareness should be there of my original form and my beginning form. I was in my original form an embodiment of peace, or I am that in my original form, the embodiment of peace, embodiment of love, embodiment of happiness, the 7 main qualities of the soul, the original qualities, the core values we talk about, that is so natural in me. So if I'm aware of that all the time, then that will become my natural nature. And then when I bring those qualities or virtues, values in practical life, then they become my divine qualities. That was what I was in Golden Age. So they were my beginning qualities, my beginning nature as a deity. I had so many values, but then in the course of time I lost them because of body consciousness. So once I'm aware of this, then automatically I'm able to invoke that natural nature. So the firm faith and the invoking of those qualities, once again what Baba says, awakening yourself. And when I'm aware of that and I'm able to invoke, I'm able to become aware of, I'm able to awaken myself, then it becomes so natural because I realize, oh, this is what I was. This is what I have to become again. Not only I was, but then sometimes it happens I was, but I can't become now again. But then Baba tells us about the cycle, what you were, you can become again. And that also should be so natural. It's not difficult. You have experienced it not just once, but uncountable times, in the past. And therefore, it should not be difficult at all. So with that consciousness, with that awareness, I'm able to get back my natural nature. So this is what Baba means by saying, invoke your natural nature.
Gopi, could I... Oh, sorry.
I just wanted to add, as we know that a repeated thought becomes action, and repeated actions become a habit, and repeated habit becomes a sanskara. So from Copper Age onwards, we have repeated this awareness, thought, and action, so it has become our nature. Now we can reverse it. We can practice the awareness of the soul, and that thought, repeated thoughts will become our action, and that automatically becomes natural. So for repetition, what is necessary is practice and attention.
I just wanted to ask Shiluben something that I've not quite understood. When Baba also speaks of our eternal form being of the highest, he says the original and the eternal form, and that I haven't quite understood what he means. Original I can understand, and then the form that we, with his help, we get back to at the end, and the middle I understand, but what does he mean, the eternal? Because we don't have it eternally, do we? We kind of lose it.
Eternal and original hasn't much difference, because when we say original, we can also understand that we forget in the course of time, because original is something else and then gradually we change. But eternal means it can never be changed. So even if I say I am not peaceful, for example, but it's not true. I am peaceful because peace is my eternal nature. So it's not just original nature, but also my eternal nature. And therefore, I don't have to get that peace from anywhere outside. It is within me. So something which is within me, it is my eternal self. I don't have to look for it outside. So original means it was like something is, physically a very good material. But then with wear and tear, it can become very weak gradually, so that originality is lost. But then eternal means that originality can be got back. That's called eternity. This is the difference between original and eternal. So soul is not just its original state, but even the eternal state, because it can be got back. Even in nature, actually it goes through a cycle, but again it comes back, So it's original and eternal. Original is like the beginning, or maybe even before the beginning as it was, but then it can come back, and therefore eternal, first eternal, then original, then beginning, then middle, then end, and again back to the eternal. So it's like that. Something which comes from within, outside. It's not coming from outside in, but from inside it's coming out. So that's why the eternity is revealed. This is how I understand.
I think Baba's also quite clever in the way that he knows we like natural things, natural food and natural things to wear, and the whole world is looking at going a bit more natural these days. So using this point as something that we can start discovering more about being natural. So let's just have a minute's silence on that sort of unnatural nature. Om Shanti. It was mentioned also that we can create multi-millions in each step, and at the same time we can also lose multi-millions in each step. So nobody really wants to lose those multi-millions. So how to continue to keep gaining instead of losing? And Baba mentioned using the full stop. So if we could share our thoughts on doing this, maybe we can start with Sheila Ben this time.
Baba teaches us wonderful arithmetic, sometimes in mathematics, the game of zero. So Baba says, after you write 1, and then the more zeros you add, the number will multiply. So 1 becomes 10, and then 100, and then 1,000, and 10,000, and so on. So Baba says this dot, this point, is of great significance. If you keep Baba in front of you, and then you are able to apply the dots, then your income will increase, like tenfold and hundredfold and so on. So each time you are able to save your time, your money, your energy, your thoughts, you are accumulating for the future. You are adding to your future income. Otherwise, so much time and energy goes waste. Our thoughts go waste in waste thoughts. And therefore, Baba teaches us how to apply a full stop. Drama. Finished. Instantly, we apply a dot. And then Baba also speaks about becoming soul conscious. The moment I say to myself, I'm a dot, immediately I'm also adding, another zero is added. Baba is a dot. So I'm able to pack up completely from all the waste. I'm able to withdraw from everything and just see Baba and none other. So seeing the self as a dot, seeing Baba as a dot, and seeing the drama as a dot, in this way I'm able to accumulate. So this is what Baba means when he says that you can earn multi-millions at every step. Otherwise in the world so much goes waste. And then Baba says, and if at this time you do not pay attention in this way, then you lose also a great deal. It's like big businessmen, when they get profit, their profit is in millions. And when they lose, their loss is also in millions. Nothing is singular, but everything is in millions. So we are also very big businessmen. And Sangam Yuga time is very crucial. It is very, very important, and God is with us. So if in this crucial time, if we do not pay attention, then definitely we lose for the whole kalpa, and then not just the next one kalpa, but kalpa after kalpa. So this way, that consciousness should be there, and I'll be able to stop losing and I'll only be gaining. So that consciousness, Baba says, make it your natural nature in this way also, as well as have that awareness that you are at the time when you are earning, where you are multiplying, where you are accumulating. Now is not the time for a loss. And if the loss comes, the loss will be tremendous, which cannot be got back. So that awareness, that caution has to come in the mind all the time.
Just on that, I'd like to ask Sister Mira maybe how she actually experiences gaining multi-millions in a second, like what that means to her when she's doing that.
I just look at it, we have a choice. There are two things. Either you can invest or you can spend. For me, expenditure is losing. Investment is gaining. And so I make sure, as much as possible, I invest what Baba has given, the treasures of the confluent sage, so that even now, as a result of that investment, I receive interest. You may wonder, what interest do you receive when you invest? The interest I receive is blessings from many, because when people see you investing, they get inspired to do the same. So you are accumulating in your own account, but you are getting something extra from others also. So it's like a double accumulation. And when Baba says that, you can also lose in 1 second what you have earned, many times I think we have heard in Sakar Murlis, one may have done a lot of service and inspired souls and did a lot of service, but one disservice can make that soul lose everything what has been earned. It is just like dropping one drop of poison in a can of milk. And that is where I need to be very careful. That together with service, earning, I don't lose. That means I don't do any disservice that would defame Baba's name, because that would actually make me lose my income. So on one side we are accumulating, but on the other side we are losing. So in our bank balance there is nothing. So for me, investment is more important. Sangam Yugi is for investment. There is time for everything. This is the time to invest. Then you can sit and eat from your investment for 2,500 years.
Neville?
I think that the longer you're on this path with Baba, the more you realize how it's either multi-millions one way or the other, profit or loss. To begin with, maybe because of all those years in Kali Yuga, we're in such a state of loss that we don't really recognize, we don't see the loss when it happens to us further. But after a good number of years with Baba, where you are increasingly experiencing the fruits of Gyan and yoga and the Brahmin life, then you can switch so quickly and painfully from a state where you feel that everything is clear and beautiful to a state where you've lost everything. And it is essentially, in my own case, it comes down to, I think really usually it's either if my ego gets fired up, then I'm in hell. Suddenly I'm plunged back into hell again. And if my ego is out of the way and I'm I'm humble and sweet and accepting of situations, then I'm in heaven. It's really like that. So I'm really understanding the massive difference between these two, and I'm getting more creative about it. I've realized that, like Shiluben was saying, it's a question of being creative about every situation that comes. You know, when she was speaking about tolerance, and she'd got a range of solutions to apply to the situation when someone had said something that was not nice. And that's really creative, you know, so that you change a situation that could otherwise plunge you into upset into one where you've strengthened yourself and you've held your inheritance. I think this is brilliant, and I'm quite new to learning this, surprisingly. I don't know quite why, but you have to be very, very creative all day. I remember many years ago, I was just on my way into Gyan, actually. I wasn't even in Gyan. But Daddy Janki had come to a public program at a little centre near where I was living. And in those days, there was no money in the Yagya whatsoever, and she had come in a beaten-up old car that broke down on the way. And so we got a phone call to say, could we go to rescue her? And when I arrived there, she was standing at the roadside. There was a crowd of people waiting for her. We were already, 40 minutes late or something like that. But she just had a big smile on her face. I was amazingly impressed, actually. I think this might have been what brought me into Gyan even. She was so powerful. And I said, how come you're so calm? And she said, well, it's a chance to have a ride in your car. I love this, to see the benefit in every situation and to be really creative in that. Because like Miraben was saying, it's a matter of choice. In a way, you can sum it up, you can like it or lump it. Whatever situation comes, you can lump it and feel it as a burden, or you can find a way of liking it with a creative approach to it.
Thank you. And just in finishing, because we'll have some meditation from 7, passing with honours, and Baba's suggesting that we speed up our machinery of transformation, otherwise it will be difficult to pass with honours. So what have you thought about this? What does that mean for you? Speeding up the machinery of transformation to pass with honours.
Baba has already given the signal in the Murali, speeding up the machinery of transformation means it has to be in 1 second. That's speed. Not that today I realize and then next year I transform. This morning I make a promise and by the evening I have already broken the promise. I'm thinking I'm going to do something, but in action I'm not doing it. It's like just do it. With the click of a finger, think and do, finish. That means there should be no thought, no margin between thinking and doing. That is why I have seen this whole season's 2-3 Muralis. Baba is underlining one particular power or virtue, determination. That means when you have begun some task, no termination. Just go for it and do it. Don't make big plan, because that is where Baba says time. Recognize the time. Time is short. That means I have to make use of the time. So the machinery has to be quick, not minute motor. Baba said motor a minute. Now second. This morning also Dadi Gulsar underlined that. For other people we say jam, but for us it is jazz. Just a second. So this practice, second realization, second transformation, is going to help us. Consistent practice will help us to pass with honors. It's a matter of second, and second is so fast. Really, all that you can say in a second is Baba, and the second passed. So that fast our transformation is to be.
I guess for myself, it's the way I can relate to it is desirelessness. Over the years, I can see how various attachments and desires have come and have taken sometimes long periods to deal with and remove, and they hold you back. And so the aim is to have learned so much to be fully steeped in Baba and his love and his wisdom that when the final moments come, I'm not looking back, I'm not looking anywhere else, I'm just knowing fully, as Baba knows, that this is for benefit and that the cycle is beginning again. That's the hope.
Baba is actually preparing us for the final moments. And as Baba says, the final paper will be only of 1 second. We won't have time to have long, churnings and thinking what to do next. It will be a matter of decision at that very moment. And there won't be any other moment. And sometimes Baba gives us the example of power brake, in a car. In the earlier cars, there were no power brakes. Supposing you put a brake here, apply a brake, and the brake would be working maybe after a few seconds, a little bit, the car would go ahead and then stop there. But then that can lead to many accidents. But power brake means instant. So this is what Baba expects from us, because in order to save the self from so much of waste or unnecessary or maybe unwanted, it's important to give a stop in a second, to change in a second, stop and start, check and change. So we have to have this practice of being able to do in a second, otherwise we may be deceived at the end, as Baba says. So this attention is needed every moment. Check and change, check and change. Only then we can pass with honors, as Baba says.
Does anybody from the audience have any questions that they'd like to ask panel members?
I also would like to add.
Or comments that you'd like to add on this topic, these topics? And if so, there's a mic just out the front, so please don't be shy.
They're getting warmed up. Are you getting warmed up?
We say if no questions means it's because of two things. One is either you have understood everything, or the other is you have not understood anything.
Jos from Holland. On the last subject of the exam of 1 second, the second, the result of this exam, how will this be experienced?
Can I share my experience? Well, I have shared it in some of the classes about my experience, of meeting with an accident. I remember this was some years ago. I was in a car, and we were 5 of us in a car, and there was a very big accident of the car. Someone just appeared from nowhere. He wasn't there before, but he just came on the road. He was a tribal man having a log of, wood on his head, and he was maybe going home from the forest. And all of a sudden he came in front of the car, and the driver didn't, he didn't pay attention. And as he saw it, he tried to give a brake. But he said it didn't work, or something happened, and he then turned his steering wheel in order to save that man who had come right in front of the car. But then the car hit that man on his foot. That person fell down. There was a big thud, and that that wood on his head that flung and reached the car bonnet, and it hit the window screen of the car, and that screen started breaking into pieces. And all of a sudden there was a thought in my mind, Baba, I'm coming to you. Because he turned the wheel and the car turned, but the axle broke or something happened, and because just 1 second before that I had seen that there was a very big pit, a deep pit. The car could have fallen into that pit and would have just crashed and crushed into pieces. Or I also saw a big pillar. Maybe it could have dashed against the pillar and then broken into pieces. And we were 5 people sitting in the car. But then at that moment, I had no other thought. I became bodiless. My experience. The others also had similar experiences. But then my experience was, I became bodiless. Actually, we fell on top of each other inside the car, I was on the side, another sister on the middle, and the third one on the other side. And we just fell on each other. But at that moment, I felt I became bodiless. And I told Baba, Baba, I'm coming to you. I could feel that for a few seconds, maybe even 1 or 2 seconds, the heartbeat stopped. I could feel that. And it was time to leave the body. So it took me only a second to become bodiless. But then after some time, I opened my eyes. We were on top of one another inside the car. The wheel of the car had broken, and the car actually didn't fall into a pit. It didn't crush against a pillar. It just went and slept over some thick bushes. It just went and slept, and we were all inside the car. Luckily, we didn't break our bones. But then when I opened my eyes, I said, I'm very much alive. We were still in the car, and the car really, it had crushed completely. It was totally damaged. But Baba saved us as if he took us in his arms, and we were saved. So this is the experience of 1 second, becoming bodiless.
What I need to do, and I just do it. Like somebody was asking, when there is an earthquake, you have only 1 second to think, either come in or go out. You cannot just send an email to find out what to do, take direction. So, which means that second is crucial, but that second is determined by the practice that we have had over a period of time. This morning, I think Chakradhari Ben was sharing the experience of samosa. You remember that one sister who was surrendered, and who was last moment she was staying in the hospital, and then when she was about to leave the body, she had the desire to eat samosa. Pani puri, whatever. Means she left the body.
Samosas are your favorite, are they, maybe?
No. Because there was a story of another sister about samosa, so maybe I mixed up. Whatever, means that thought, that suppressed desire actually emerged all of a sudden. Even though she had surrendered, she was a very good yogi, everything. But that last second, she failed. She left the body in that consciousness. So this is where Baba says that I have to keep my intellect so clean, so clear, that I get the right intuition to do the right thing. It's a matter of a second. The decision is made in a second.
I would like to share an experience of a sister. I am sure you know of the the largest gas tragedy which took place in Bhopal. Do you know about that? And in which thousands of people perished. So there was a gas leakage. It was a poisonous gas leakage, and the people didn't know what it was, so they thought there's fire or something, and they were running and running. But then because of the gas leakage in the whole town, and people were running, it affected their lungs, and many people died on the spot, they fell and all that. And it's still the tragedy, the impact of that is in Bhopal. So we have Baba center very close to that factory where the tragedy took place. And there was only one sister in the center, and she got that foul smell. She became, she couldn't tolerate it. But then she said, anyway, where to go? Everybody telling her, come out, let us go. But she said, no, I will remember Baba. So she went and sat in Baba's room. And that foul smell, it was so strong, so bitter, she couldn't breathe. And then she got the touching. Go and close all the windows. She did that. Put the fan on full speed and drink a lot of water and sleep and put a blanket around cover your face and just don't worry and remember Baba. And she did that. And nothing happened to her. She was saved. But those people who ran for their lives trying to, they didn't know what had happened, and many of them perished. So we asked her, how did you survive? What happened? She said, it was Baba's touching. I just went into Baba's room and Baba gave me a flash. Do all this. And I was saved. Nothing happened to her. Another instance was there was an earthquake, and the sister was sharing her experience that everything was shaking. It was about 4:30 in the morning. And somewhere in northern India. And so it was 4:30 in the morning. They were sitting in Baba's room, both sisters in the center. And people were shouting and running. But then Baba gave them the touching, don't worry. Just sit where you are. And they sat undisturbed. And luckily what happened was that the portion where the bedroom and the kitchen was, all that portion fell. But where Baba's room was, that remained intact, and they were saved. So if they would have panicked and run to the bedroom or run to the kitchen or maybe tried to run down, they could have lost their life, So they were saved because they were in Baba's room, and they just remained undisturbed. So 1 second you have you have at that moment to decide what to do, but you get the right touching from Baba, if your line is clear.
Put it on.
Put it on, no?
You told about samosa, so samosa and pani puri something. So while that means at the end of our life, if we remember that one, and we died, and what's the next? The remember of
There is another story that there was a sannyasi. They say, actually this is not true, this is a tall story, that there was a sannyasi who renounced in his life, and he had a very good life, and so at the time he was dying, he was lying below a tree which bears berries. So as he was lying down, in his last moments, he was looking at the fruits in the tree, and he had the desire, I want to eat this fruit. And so they say that in the next life, he went and became the worm inside that fruit. Of course, this is a tall story. Of course, if you remember samosa, you don't become potato inside. But what it means is that, my thoughts, my last thoughts leads to my destination. So the desire, as Brother Neville was mentioning, to pass with honor, I need to have that definitely the stage of desirelessness. So automatically that really helps me to be beyond pull towards anything. I'm contented. So then I get the right touching. To get the right touching, my intellect has to be free from that pull of wanting anything. So that is what is actually the
No,
significance.
but as she's saying that, what will be the result?
No, means that you will not, we won't go and trace the result that what you are going to become, but that means that, you have the last moment that shows that there was some kind of suppressed desire that emerged all of a sudden. So that is not right, because then my destination will not be as I wanted. Sometimes we keep a very high aim, but then we are not able to reach the aim if I don't have the qualification. And so this is very important. So I have to make sure if I consider every moment as my last moment, then I will always make sure that I keep my state of mind in such a way that I am not pulled by anything, anybody, or even towards my own body. So then I am totally free. So that should be the way of leaving the body. So then my destination is always elevated.
I will get a good birth. And maybe if I'm remembering samosa or pani puri in the next life, maybe I may have some stomach problems, some this, all anything can happen. So some karmic account.